Hey everyone, I'm back with yet another webcast on sustainability and environmental stability. So, last week you must have heard my colleague Rajesh talk about why cloud. Why does cloud claim that they can reduce carbon emissions by 80 to 87%? What does this really mean? And what does it take for an enterprise to adopt the cloud, right? Because when I spoke about in my previous webcast, talk to your management, talk to your leadership, talk to your colleague, create a movement so that we can reduce the emissions of data centers and move our data to the cloud, which is much more sustainable. It obviously raised a lot of questions in your head that what does this really mean? What is the cloud, right? And I'm sure a lot of your questions must have got answered in Rajesh's video. Today I'm here to talk about a revolution that the cloud industry is currently going through and their way of claiming that 80 to 87% reduction in carbon emissions. So let me start. So when I spoke about moving data to the cloud, your office data, your everyday data, I'm sure it doesn't mean that, the data is going to be just floating up in the cloud. It's not that simple, right? So cloud providers also have data centers. Yes, they do. Otherwise, where would they be storing all the data? But these guys have certain technologies, certain innovations, certain researches, at the disposal of their fingertips that are helping them to make this claim a reality. Now, what are they? And what is this thing that they're doing? What are they doing so differently? So let me talk about a concept that is creating a lot of buzz today, which is called green cloud computing. What does that really mean? And how is it really matching to the goals of environmental sustainability? Let me start. So basically, like I said, the cloud mammoths of today, AWS, Microsoft, GCP, these guys have used the latest in technologies, the latest in research to deploy certain measures that are helping them eradicate carbon emissions. By that, what I mean is 4 typical measures. Number 1, it's basically making sure they are using maximum amount of renewable energy to fuel their data centers rather than the high dependence on fossil fuels. So that means a lot of dependence on wind, solar, tidal energy to kind of run the data centers rather than only looking at our fossil fuels like coal, right? That is one very, very big innovation that our common offices and enterprises cannot do. It's not possible, right? The second thing that they are doing is they are moving their data centers to very, very environmental friendly locations. For example, extremely cold countries, underground, even underwater. Sounds amazing, right? It is true. So AWS, GCP, Microsoft have data centers in areas, cold countries like Finland, Belgium, Sweden, Scotland, and they kind of preserve their data centers there. So the cooling is much higher, right? And the need for electricity and carbon emissions is much lower. In fact, Microsoft Azure has a project called Project Natick in which they prototyped the concept of storing data centers underwater. They started this in 2018 and guess what? It's been a success. So soon, we will start having data centers underwater as well, right? AWS, GCP, though they have not disclosed, I'm sure they are on this path, right? Of underground and underwater as well. So you never know, all the data you're creating might be residing underwater someday, or even now it might be, right? It's amazing to think what these guys can do. The third thing is they are optimizing their maintenance, their hardware maintenance costs, and also the hardware maintenance needs. So what does this mean? It means using dynamic fluctuation matrix. It means flexible scaling of electricity so that, they are easily able to manage the ups and lows without consuming excess energy, without consuming excess electricity, right? And the fourth thing, which is something I think very, very avid in today's world, is workflow optimization. Helping to cut down the manual tasks, okay, and thereby reducing inflows, thereby reducing caches, thereby reducing network traffic, and automating a lot of them by using AI and ML and all of those technologies. So what happens is the time to do a task, the time you're calling on, from these networks, you're calling on data reduces by a lot, which obviously affects the consumption, right? So these are some things that are a part of green cloud computing. I really hope you enjoyed this. Please go ahead and read about it. It's very, very interesting. And I really look forward to y'all. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to post them. And I really, really request all of y'all to start thinking about this. Guys, honestly, the environment needs us. And we need to do our part to make sure, we have a sustainable future and our future generations have that. So please start talking about these trends, create a buzz so that more and more enterprises adopt the cloud and kind of fortify and secure our environment, right? Thank you so much, guys. I'll catch up with you in my next webcast. Take care.